Everyone's watching the Toronto market right now like it's the bottom of the ninth. Tension high, everyone's guessing the next move. In September, we saw a stat that turned heads. Just 53 condos that sold in the city of Toronto. 53. When you hear that, it sounds like the Toronto condo market has struck out. But here's the pitch. That is only one side of the market. While developers are barely selling units, the resale condo market has still been moving. Prices have adjusted, buyers are negotiating, and real transactions are happening quietly as most of the media is focusing on the condo freeze. Today, we're going to break down the full picture. New condo sales across the GTA, what's happening in Toronto specifically, benchmark prices, the comparison of prices to square footage, and what exactly is happening on the resale market as we're closing out the final innings of the fall market. This is the play-by-play that you need to know going into the rest of the year and into 2026. If you've been watching the headlines, you would think that Toronto real estate has struck out even though the Jays are still rolling in the World Series. In September, developers saw 53 new condo sales across the greater Toronto area. That's almost not even a statistic and more of a rounding error. But here's a twist. Resale, condos, and low-rise homes are still transacting. Buyers are negotiating, prices have recalibrated, and motivated sellers are still making moves while the new construction is at a standstill. In this video, we're pulling back the curtain to look at the real data. New condo sales by region across the GTA, single-family monthly sales by municipality, benchmark prices for low-rise and new build condos, and why exactly that number is so low at 53 for September. And one of the most important items, unit size compared to the price per square foot, which really does tell the full story. The new build market and the resale market are moving in two completely directions. Let's take a look at all the data. This data came out from Altus Group's September 2025 report for the Greater Toronto Area. And this is the graph that shows exactly what has been happening across the GTA. September sales down 60% from 2024 for single family homes, and year-to-date sales at 2250, which is down 43% from the year before. There are still 5,874 remaining properties to be sold. Now, here's one of the kickers is that the average benchmark price at $1.437 million for a single family home that is new in the Greater Toronto Area. If we take a look at condos, 155 sales in September, which is down 44% from the prior year, and 1,538 year-to-date sales. There are still almost 16,000 condos for sale on the active market. And that's not even including the assignments that we are seeing in some of the back-end portals here as buyers are trying to move these properties before the closing dates. The average price, $1,033,000 for a new condo in the Greater Toronto Area. So how does that look in a 10-year period? Well, let's compare the trends for sales year to date, and we're going to look at a 10-year average back to 2016. The 10-year average for sales is about 6,715 sales. That's through the first 3 quarters of both single family and condos. Single family here in the teal. So the average amount of sales in a given year, 6,700. This year trending at 2,250. In fact, 2024 and 2025 combined is still below the average 10-year amount of sales at 6715. If we look at 2020 and 2021, that was double the amount for both years of the amount of pre-construction single-family homes sold. And a lot of these homes now are starting to get finished here as we've gone through the last couple of years, and we're seeing a good amount of them come to market here. If we look at condos, the average amount of condo sales for the pre-construction, 14,377. If we add up 2023, 2024, 2025, we're still not really at that average. We're still barely even at that average. If you look at 2023, it's about 10,000 sales, give or take, and then basically about 5,000 sales 2024, 2025. If we look back in 2021, that's where the pre-sale condo market really took off for the Greater Toronto Area. Same with 2022, and then really fell off from there. And a lot of these properties are starting to get completed here as we go into 2026. Now, a lot of headlines are talking about how if we're not selling product today, it's going to have an effect on product in the future. And that's certainly the case. There's a lot of condo buildings that have not launched this year, or they've launched and pulled out, or they've even pre-sold in 2022, 2023, and are deciding not to move forward with the project. So that's something that we are starting to see, and it'll be something to monitor as we go forward when it comes to inventory. Now, we mentioned 53 condo sales in September, and to be specific, that is actually for the city of Toronto, not for the GTA GTA as a whole. As mentioned, the GTA as a whole is a little bit more than that, not crazy numbers to be honest. Single family homes, 5 single family new construction sales in the city of Toronto in the month of September. That is very, very low. And especially in a time where everyone's talking about we need to build more affordable homes, we need to build more properties. If these are the sales that are trickling in, we are not going to get those deliverables in the future. And if you look at the year to date 2023 compared to 2025, we're down almost 90%, basically 85%, give or take, on quick math. And if you look at an area like York, this is down significantly compared to 2023. Before we get over to the resale market and what's actually been selling and transacting, just wanted to show the average benchmark price for condos and for low-rise properties. And in that same low-rise property that's now going for about 144 basically was at about 1.9 back in 2022. As for condos, $1,033,000 average price, and that was as high as almost 1.3 in 2022. Now, if we're taking a look at the average price per square foot compared to the unit size, and I actually really love this chart because I do feel that when buyers come and talk about what exactly they're looking for size-wise and if they want brand new, we saw a major shift, I would say probably about 7 years ago, where the prices kept going up, but the average size of property kept going down. And yes, I can see how here in the charts, it's even more drastic in 2022. But if we look at the completions of things that actually have sold and turned over and completed in, for example, 2020, 2021, there's still some pretty good size layouts for those buildings. A lot of the newer stuff that's been delivered in the last year or two have definitely been on the smaller side. And one of the questions I always ask my buyers is where would you put a TV? And that seems to pose a bit of a challenge in some of these new layouts. You might be wondering what's been happening in the resale condo market for the same time period. And if we take a look at how that looks today, and we will look at the average price in a second, we are seeing that 961 sales happened in September of 2025, which is up 6% from September 2024. And what we're finding is that sellers and buyers are starting to come together on price, which is showing us 961 sales for September. Still not quite as high as what we saw in July, but still a pretty decent number for the year. That being said, if we look back at April 2024, it was about 1,300 sales. Now, if we look at average price, one thing we've noticed is that September, October, and August, prices have gone up month over month over month. In fact, they're down about 3% from last year, but the last couple of months, we've seen some transaction pricing going up a little bit higher. And again, that October number still remain to be seen as we clock in the rest of the month. But overall, if we are taking a look at the average price in September for a resale condo, $680,000, that is 40 to 50% cheaper than a new construction condo. And that is the reason why none of these new condo sales are happening, is that buyers who are looking for either an investment or for a property for themselves, which is actually what we've been seeing the most of this year, those buyers are finding some really incredible deals here on the market and some great properties at great prices. But that average price is around $680,000. So quite the difference for what's to come. And also if they're looking at floor plans and seeing the properties are getting smaller and smaller, they're getting much more value on the resale side right now. And that's where we're really seeing that as we've gone through this year. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. I'm Michael Ouzas. Thanks for watching.